The day I graduated college in 2005, I decided to start a rental company. It took a few years until it became successful enough to be my full-time job, but now it's all I do. My hope is to help you by sharing my knowledge. Okay, so this particular video I feel is going to be a lot of help to a lot of people because a lot of people don't know how to do lighting. I did not know until my friend taught me. What most companies will do is they'll go out and buy pre-made strands about 25 feet long. The only problem with that is you can only plug 3 in together before you maximize the wattage, and then you've got extension cords running all over the person's yard. So I'm just going to show you easy ways to make perimeter lighting and Italian Bistro lighting. Perimeter goes around the inside perimeter of the tent, Italian Bistro hangs. You got to pick up a roll of this stuff. I get mine from actionlighting.com or Advantage Tent Fittings. It's got sockets already on there, and it's on SPT2 wire. You also need to get some vampire plugs, a male and female. Now I'm just going to cut a little piece. So I'm just making a short one right here. So this has 3 sockets on here. So all you gotta do is take the vampire plug and start with the male end, slide it down in there, bend it over, and then put the top piece on. And you either need a hammer or pliers to get it all the way on. So there we got the male plug on. And then same thing with the female end. Just gonna put it down in there again, bend it over, and slide the top piece on. And then you're gonna put in your bulbs. I use LED bulbs. They're plastic, and they are only 1 watt a piece. We used to have incandescent glass bulbs, but they always broke. These, you can just bang around like nothing. So here's my little light strand. It's got a Bistro light in it and a perimeter light in it. I just made it with a male vampire plug, a female vampire plug, and the spool from actionlighting.com. Plug it in, and there they go. They both work. Now we use LED plastic ones now because, you know, when we would store them, they'd get broken, or when we're setting up, they got broken, or you cut your zip tie and it falls, it gets broken. So we switched to the LED warm white. LED technologies come far enough that these are pretty much indistinguishable from traditional incandescent. LED used to be really bright and look really bad, but both of these are warm yellow, so it's not like blaringly white inside the tent. So all our perimeter lighting on our tents is cut to size. We will show up with one of these spools, we'll set the tent up, let's just say a 20 by 30. We'll put a male plug on the end, and we'll zip tie it where we want it to start. And then we will roll the entire 100 feet out, hook it to the ropes on the inside perimeter until we get back to the starting point. And then we'll cut it and put the female plug on the end. That way we're not measuring at the warehouse trying to measure 100 feet because it's not always exactly perfect. At least if we do it on site and we know it begins and ends all where it needs to. And then we'll go in and put the bulbs. And then after we've done that, we take a marker and write 100 feet on both of the plugs. And then we store them on one of these things. And here's the advantage of LED bulbs. Not a single broken one. So, and then when we pick them back up, we put them back on these things, and we always roll up female end first so that we can always start where we need to with the male end and roll it out. Now the Italian Bistro bulbs is the same thing. We have them stored on these orange savers, and we set them up the same exact way. We will set the entire thing up before we put the bulbs in and make our cuts so that we know that it's always going to fit the tent, that it's measured exactly. We'll roll the whole thing out, set it up, cut everything to the way it needs to be, and put the bulbs in. So every one of our 40 wides has a bin. Every one of those 40 wide bins can go to any 40 wide tent. Everything is cut to size. We don't have to, on the job, cut things, make things fit. And at the end of the video, I'll show you a diagram to kind of more explain. So let's say we're doing a 40-100. We'll start it in the center and bring it up to the center pole, across, and down. And that's what this one is right here. And then if we're doing ones across the tent, we will start it where it needs to, go up to the center pole, and back down. And then we'll take a custom extension cord we made. This is just SPT2 wire with no sockets. It's got a male and female plug on it. And then we will hook into the one we just ended, go 20 feet over to the next center pole, and go back up and down. Same thing, and just keep going until we're done. Now if you have LED bulbs, they're 1 watt a piece, so you can run 1,500 feet on one plug. If you got incandescent bulbs, about 7 or 8 watts a piece, you can only run about 150 feet. So the advantage of the LED is they're not breaking, and you really are only going to have about 2 extension cords per big wedding. But if you have incandescent, you got 3, 4, 5 extension cords all over these people's yards. So the way we set them up is we just use zip ties to hook them into the metal parts on the tent, and then bring it up to the center pole. Then use a really big zip tie, and then we cut off all the ends, climb down the ladder, and keep doing it. Lighting used to take us forever. It used to take about 2 hours to do all the perimeter lighting and the bistro lighting. But now, with the LED bulbs and not having to run as many extension cords, we got doing a whole 40-by-100 down to about 20 minutes. So pricing on this stuff, you basically get your money back after about 2 rentals. It's not that expensive to buy, but you're also not going to charge just 10 cents a foot. That's kind of preposterous. So the Italian Bistro lighting, we charge $2 a foot, and the perimeter lighting, we charge 50 cents a foot. The Italian Bistro lighting can be done any which way you want in a tent. We usually just do down the center and across at each center pole, but you can crisscross it, and if you got the LED and you can run 1,500 feet off of one plug, you can do crazy stuff in a tent. You're much more limited if you're using the incandescent bulbs. Okay, so this is if we would have a 40-by-100 setup. We would put a 3-prong adapter right here, and then we would take the perimeter lighting and go 140 feet around to there. Plug another one into the other. Go 140 feet around to there, so they would end there. Then we would take a string of Italian Bistro lighting, plug it in the middle one, and go all the way down the 100 feet. And then we would put a plug, an extension cord here, and go with the Bistro lighting right across, and then over, and this would be all part of the strand, but there'd be no lights in this part, and then back over to there, and it would end. And then we would take a small white extension cord that we made, 20 foot long, plug it into there, bring it to here, plug a new strand of Italian Bistros in, and do the same thing. Over, bring it over to here, and again, there'd be no lights there. Then bring it down to here, and end it. So this entire tent would take 2 extension cords if you had the LED bulbs. If you had regular incandescent bulbs, it would take 1, 2, 3. You could run one over, you wouldn't be able to hook them in here. You'd have to have a whole new extension cord and do it in here, because the LED bulbs take up less wattage. You cannot do 1,500 feet in a row with the LED bulbs with the incandescent, we don't go more than 150 ever. So that's a top-down view. This would be kind of a side view. And I'll do one side of the perimeter. So like I said, we'll put a 3-prong adapter here. And we'll do the perimeter all the way around the tent and ends back there. Same thing for the back side. And then the Italian Bistro, plug it into the middle of that 3-prong, go up and over each pole, and then back down. And then again, we'd have our extension cord come to this one, and we go up to the center pole, back down, and then from here over to the next center pole would be the same cord, just no lights in the sockets. Back up, back down, and then from here to here we would make a 20-foot white extension cord, plug them in, go back up, back down, and over, and again there'd be no lights in here, but it'd be part of the same strand. Back up, down, and end it. And we cut all these to the same size. It's in a bin specific to a 40 wide. Now that was for a 40 by 100. If we have a 40 by 80, we just bring the same bin for a 40 wide. If it's a 40 by 80, we would do the same thing. These are exactly the same. Cord over there, comes down and ends. Now that 40 by 100 strand, that would be 100 feet long. But everywhere there's a center pole, we would actually have a male and female socket that connects. So if we were doing a 40 by 100, we just use all of it. If we're doing a 40 by 80, we would just take off one of those 20-foot sections and leave it in the bin. If we were doing a 40 by 60, we would take off one of those sections and leave it in the bin. So all we have to do for a 40 wide is bring one bin, and it'll handle a 40 by 40, 40 by 60, 40 by 80, 40 by 100, because these are all going to be the same. And this long one, you just have male and female connectors so that you can have it 100 feet long, or just remove a piece and have it 80, remove a piece, have it 60, remove a piece and have it 40. So the last thing to add to that is the perimeter lighting. So if you have a 40 by 100, you got 2 perimeter strands that are 140 each to add up to 280. That 140 can also be used on a 30 by 40, because a 30 by 40 is 140 feet perimeter. If you've got let's say a 40 by 60, you've got 2 strands of 100 each, and a 20 by 30 is exactly 100. So those strands can be used for the 40 by 60, or they can be used for the 20 by 30. If you're doing a 40 by 40, you got 2 strands that are 80 a piece. And same thing, 80 is a 20 by 20. So when you make them, you put the 80 or 100 or 120, 140, they can be not only used for the 40 by 100, they can be used for 20 by 20, 20 by 30, 20 by 40, 30 by 40, 30 by 60. 30 by 60 is going to be 100 foot and 180 foot. And then we store them all on a shelf, and each one has, this is where all the 80 foots are, 100 foots. I actually have one set up for 30 by 60. Each one's 90 feet. Then 120, 140. And then here's another bin. There's my 40 by 100, which, as I said earlier, can make anything from a 40 by 40 up to a 40 by 100. And then we got all our extension cords down there. And then in every truck we have a box of the LED Bistro lights and the LED perimeter lights, because when you show up and you set it up, plug it in, test everything, something might be burned out. So I mean, this is just the way we do it. We store everything on the orange savers. It cuts down on time. I've seen some companies where they take every bulb out every time, and then every time they get to the job, they gotta lay it all out and put every bulb in. That takes forever, like literally forever. So we got it down to being really fast and efficient. And if you have any questions, click subscribe, make a comment. I'll answer your questions. I'll leave a link for everywhere I buy things. I buy most of my stuff from Action Lighting. If Action Lighting doesn't have it, I buy it from Advantage Tent Fittings. And the LED Bistro bulbs, I buy from lightsource.com.